Hello everybody and welcome to another Twilight Zone review. Today it is Season 4, Episode 13, The New Exhibit, written by Jerry Soule and starring Martin Balsam as Martin. And a note about the writing credits of this episode. If you watch the episode, you will see Charles Beaumont credited as the writer. It was later discovered that Jerry Soule was a ghostwriter on the episode due to the sad circumstances that Charles Beaumont was having a lot of health problems. This would continue on with a few episodes in the 5th season as well. And as for the new exhibit itself, it's really good. It's one of the better hour-long episodes that unfortunately has a few minor problems and is just a little bit padded in a few spots. But ultimately, it's one of the more effective hour shows in my opinion. A lot of this is due to the excellent work by Martin Balsam in the lead performance. So we start in a wax museum and we're introduced to Martin, our main character, and he's introducing us to all kinds of different wax figures who are killers from the past. And you can tell that Martin's really into this and he's pretty intense. Somebody tries to touch one of them and he kind of yells at him, and you can tell this guy's just really into his work. So we go to the next scene and Martin is called into his boss's office, the man that owns the museum, a Mr. Ferguson, I believe his name is, and he explains that he's selling the property, he got a good offer for it, and museums just people aren't as interested in them as they used to be. Now this really crushes Martin, who just can't seem to let go of these figures, so ultimately he proposes that he will take the figures in and he will put them in his basement, buy an air conditioner, and take good care of them until they can open up another museum, or that he can open up another museum. So we get a scene with Martin and his wife Emma, and he's talking about his plans for his new museum, but you can tell he's really worried about these figures, and he's not really too into Emma, to be honest. You can tell his wife is very concerned. She's especially concerned when she finds out that he has bought an air conditioner and it's going to cost a lot of money to keep this thing running all the time. So they get into an argument ultimately, and Emma's very upset about how much attention that Martin is spending with these figures. It turns out he's had them for weeks now, and she then shows him a bill looking at the cost that it's keeping to keep these figures from melting. But Martin's just determined to keep these figures. He says he's not worried about the cost. He actually says that he loves the figures. He uses the word love. And he starts talking to them like they're people. So this guy might be getting just a bit carried away with this at this point. So Emma is really desperate and she goes to her brother for help. Her brother says she needs to be more firm with Martin and insist that he gets rid of the figures. And if this doesn't work, that maybe she could sabotage the air conditioning and maybe something could accidentally happen to the figures. This would prove to be not very good advice. And it is kind of a shady move, although admittedly this is probably a desperate situation at this point. So Emma and Martin talk, and it's pretty clear after Emma insists that the figures must go, that this isn't going to happen. Martin once again says the figures need him, and Emma tells Martin he needs a doctor. He says nothing's wrong with him. So basically we go to nighttime, and Emma decides she's going to sneak downstairs and turn off the air conditioning. Now let me talk really quick about what happens next, as Emma is very scared by the figures. As far as the figures themselves, they were played by real actors, and most of the time it's effective. It works the way it's filmed. But there are a few times this isn't completely convincing. You see a little bit of movement here and there. But for the most part, the illusion that they're wax figures works okay. And this is a pretty creepy scene. Ultimately, as Emma goes to turn off the air conditioning, the Jack the Ripper figure appears to come alive, and it uses its knife, and ultimately Emma is done in. So Martin goes to see what's up. He's calling for Emma, and he finds her passed away, and it seems like he knows that Jack the Ripper did this, or so we think, till we get to the end of the episode. So Martin, of course, covers this up. He says they can't go to the police, because who would believe him? And I can buy that they wouldn't believe him. That makes sense. But Martin also scolds Jack about leaving blood on the weapon, which I thought was a little strange. He's talking to the Jack the Ripper wax figure. This guy's a bit out there at this point, which should give us a hint to the ending. And Then Emma's brother Dave comes, and he's looking for Emma. Him and Dave talk. Turns into an argument, and I have to admit Martin's cover story isn't very good here. So Dave ultimately decides to explore on himself. He goes into the basement and finds that the figures are still alive, and then he is eliminated. So it looks like the figures committed another murder of Dave. And after this, another person comes by, Mr. Ferguson. At this point, the episode's getting a little by the numbers as people are just coming and getting picked off. But each one does progress the plot, so it's okay. It's just a little basic in its format. A person comes, they get killed. A person comes, they get killed. But I don't know if there was a better way to do this, so it's fine, I guess. So Mr. Ferguson tells Martin that he found a buyer for the figures. He never thought he would, but he did. You can tell Martin's not interested in this at all. He only cares about the figures. He's talking about them, how they need new clothes, and things like that. And ultimately what happens is Mr. Ferguson is also eliminated because I guess the figures just don't want to be sold off. But we'll find out the twist of the episode in a minute here. Martin all of a sudden starts yelling at the figures. He kind of turns on them unexplainably, and he's telling them, I'm going to melt you all down. You killed Mr. Ferguson, the person I had the most respect for. He says, who's going to be first? And all of a sudden, when he's ready to get rid of the figures, they all come after him. They all appear alive to him, and they tell him he's the one that committed the murders, which should seem obvious thinking back on the episode. But I have to say, the first time I saw the episode, I didn't really see the twist coming. So at least for me, the twist was effective and it worked, and they did a good job of covering it up. But this now makes sense as the figures were only alive in Martin's head. So ultimately, we see a shot of Martin screaming, and we go to the last scene of the episode where we are in a new wax museum where the figures are. And now, of course, Martin is one of them. He is a wax figure. So a good twist, a good episode overall. Like I said, it's a little long in spots, and a couple of the scenes with the figures don't completely work, but I think they do for the most part. And overall, I give the new exhibit a 4 out of 5. Definitely worth watching. It's a good creative episode, and Martin Balsam's performance is really good. So a 4 out of 5 for the new exhibit. As always, thanks for watching.